So it's kind of ironic that we're having this here, and it's really, I think it's really cool. I haven't been in this building for a long time, but I got a lot of great memories here. I'm sure a lot of you guys share those with me. You know, I've got fun stories to tell because it's a celebration, right? You know, some of you guys probably know these stories, and I'm going to tell them anyway because not everybody knows them. And there's some I know you don't know, but we're going to have some fun with it. When I met Jeff, I went to a, I don't know what you said. When I met Jeff, I went to an audition for this band, and I was looking in the paper called The Recycler. You guys remember The Recycler from LA? I don't even know if it still exists, I'm stupid, but you know, I used to get that thing religiously, like weekly. And if you wanted to get in a band, you know, they had some pretty good ads in there, so you'd look and, you know, see what was up. So I made this call, I went and auditioned for this band. It was really fucking horrible. And the good thing about it was Jeff worked in the lobby. Not lobby, the desk where you walk in, where the fuck it's called. And I saw him on the way, and I'm like, hey dude, what's up? You know, talked for a second. I went in, played with these dudes that were clearly way too old for me and making up just horrible stuff. So I come out, and Jeff's playing guitar. I went, that's very interesting. Yeah, I play guitar, and you know, he's playing songs that I know. Like way back then, it's like, you know, Def Leppard, Wasted, you know, Highway Star, old stuff, you know. And I'm like, you ever think about getting in a band? And you know, we exchanged numbers and talked on the phone, because that's what you did back then. And you know, it became history. But it's such a funny story. I met him auditioning for another band, and he's working in the building I was at. But that's how I met my man, and that's how we started Slayer, and we just never looked back from there. I gotta tell you, unlike myself, Jeff Hanneman hated Jägermeister. And Warren Jägermeister, I'm pretty sure everybody hates it. And that's what this is, but I had to come up here with something to cheer my fucking lost friend. The next story, I don't know if you guys may or may not know this, but Jeff didn't drive. Jeff didn't have a car, he didn't have a driver's license. I think it was around 16, if I'm not mistaken, 16, 17, and probably 16, because I met him when he was 17. And you know, he had a driver's license once. Then I think he had like 2, you know, drunk driving convictions, and he said, "That's it, I'm not driving no more," which is probably better for all of us. But because of that, I used to go pick him up for rehearsal. You know, we'd practice in Tom's garage, and he lived in North Long Beach. It was like, I don't know, 10 miles to pick him up, but 10 miles in 1981 was a long fucking ways. You know, you think about it now, it's like, oh man, it's nothing, but back then, that takes up some of your day. So we would do that every day. You know, we were in school. Well, Jeff quit school, but I was in school. Tom was probably working, and I'd just go pick up Jeff, and we'd hang out in Tom's garage and make up stuff. You know, I'd play drums, he'd play riffs. He'd play riffs, I'd play drums, or I'd say vice versa, whatever. And that's how we made up. I guess to this day, like we've been rehearsing Jesus Saves, and it was either I must have been playing the riff because I wrote that song, and Jeff made up the drum part for it, sitting behind Dave's kit. And then I would have to drive him home, or Tom would drive him home. But you know, that being said, you know, we used to go to all the mom and pop record stores because back then that's pretty much how you got new music. You know, there was no means of the internet, obviously. So if you wanted to get something, you pretty much had to take. Well, I'm sorry, is this your story or my story? Can I start again? Thanks. So you know, we're at the mom and pop stores, and there was no way to know if you got something new. I mean, we would spend $20 and roll the dice on something good, something great, something completely shitty. But I can't remember if he bought it or I bought it. We got the first Merciful Fate EP. And that was a gem, you know, that's why you did that. You didn't care if you lost $20 if you got something good, because you had to do that to find out what kind of great bands there were. And about that time, you know, Jeff was getting into punk, big time. And I didn't understand it because I was more of a, you know, Ronnie James Dio, Rob Halford kind of. I like the metal music with the singers, you know, and punk seemed like a cheap down version with shitty singers. But that's what it's supposed to be, and I didn't get it for a long time. And Jeff was my doorway to punk, and it really helped Slayer become kind of the bridge between the metal kids and the punk kids. And I gotta tell you, when he shaved his head, I was pissed. How can you be in a metal band with a dude with a shaved head? Just totally upset me. But that's who Jeff was, like Dino said. He's like, I'm shaving my head. And it was great, because that's what Jeff does. What else in that cup? Oh, this is good. I thought of this one. We came down today, me, my wife, a couple friends, and we're telling Jeff stories, and it sparked the idea for me to tell this one. But I think there's an open mic later, and I hope some of my friends tell some of the stories they told on the way down here, because I was laughing in traffic like I was going to get in an accident. It was awesome. But my first story starts, I was 80, I know it was 88, because we were on South Avenue. And some of you guys were probably at this tour. It's when we picked up the West Coast for Judas Priest. They were on the Ram It Down tour, and for some reason they decided to take out Cinderella on the beginning of that run. And I never understood it. I thought it was the silliest thing I ever heard. So that was doing shitty. And then we get the call to go open for Judas Priest. And Judas Priest was like, to this day, like if I get all crazy and nervous around people, it's Priest or Sabbath, you know, it's pretty much it. So we go on this run, we did the last 13 shows. I don't think my wife knows the story, but we were at some bar, as we usually were. And it was me, Jeff, our tour manager, and I don't know who's in the car, but our tour manager's got a rental car. And you know, you probably know I hold my liquor well, I'm not usually a problem. This day I was a problem. And Jeff wore the brunt of it. It's pretty cool. I'll continue. We're at this place, and I think it was even the Judas Priest crew, and I was so excited to be hanging out with the Judas Priest crew because they knew Judas Priest, you know, I was just like, fuck yeah! So I probably had a little too much fun, so we get in the car to go back to the hotel, wherever the hell it was, and Paul Spriggs is driving, and he puts me in the back seat, and I had a little too much, which isn't usually my style, and, you know, but I'll say, as I'm about to say, I said, Paul, I think I'm gonna throw up, don't put me in the back seat, you know, I'll throw up quicker. He's like, no, you never throw up, you're fine. So I let it go for a while, I'm like, listen dude, I think there's gonna be an episode here. And you know, he just didn't want to hear it from me. He's like, you're fine, you hold your liquor great. And I said, Paul, let me tell you something, I won't puke in this rent car. And, you know, he wouldn't do anything about it, so, you know, it was that time, at least I'm in a window seat. I start to roll down the window. It's one of the fucking child windows. It only goes down like halfway. And luckily back then I didn't have all this, or it would have been much worse. So, you know, I'm doing my best to get this puke out of the car. And, you know, it didn't make it. Maybe a little bit made it. It's on my arm, it's on my chin, it's all over the place. And Hanneman's sitting next to me, and he says, dude, that's the best thing I've ever seen. And I'm all pissed off, and I got puke all over my arm, and I just said, oh yeah? I reached over and I wiped it on him. He's like, that's the best thing ever! She was really stoked to have my puke on him because he had such a good time that day, and I'll never forget that story, and the ride down today made me remember that again. I haven't told that in a long time, but that was one of the first fun stories I've had with Hanneman. And I have one more. I have one more, this one's really good. We were in, and let me preface this and say, I'm sorry Rick Sales, but this is about you. Rick Sales is our manager, he has been since 1986, I love Rick. And this is nothing against Rick, this is just a fun story I have from, I think we were in Britain, and we're all at this dinner after a show we did in England, London probably somewhere. And I mean, head honchos, you know, it's me, Jeff, Dave, Rick Sales, the promoters, and, you know, probably record people from the British record label, whatever the hell that was at the time. So we're there, and me and Jeff, you know, we'd always sit in bars, and we'd pick shit up and throw it in people's drinks. And I think that day it was either peanuts or peas or something. And nobody's eating them. Nobody wants peas at a Slayer table. I don't know what the fuck they're there for. So, you know, we made up weapons. And, you know, we're just throwing peas in people's drinks. And we were pretty damn good at it. So at one point, Rick decided he had enough. He went to the bathroom. And me and Jeff was sitting right next to me again. And we didn't know what was going on. Yeah, Rick's going to the bathroom. He's got to do his thing, whatever. So we're just doing our thing. And we didn't even notice when Rick came back in. And we were sitting against the wall. And Rick comes back in with like a cloth napkin, you know, like you get in a restaurant. You took the bathroom and just doused it with water. And he fires it at us. Because he had enough of me and Jeff. And right between us, smack on the wall. And I went, really? They're going to try it on me and Jeff. And I go, Jeff, we should throw it back. He's like, you throw it, you're going to hit him. And I'm like, you think? He's like, throw it, do it. And he's looking at me, and he doesn't even have time to look up before I stood up and fired it back and hit my friend Rick Sales right in the fucking forehead. And it was loud enough for the entire restaurant to know what happened. And Jeff missed it. I look back, I'm like, dude, I already did it. He's like, fuck! But what I'm getting at, Jeff is a character. I have, you know, a million stories, and it takes a while to get to all of them. I wanted to share those two with you. What else I got here? Oh yeah, you know this. Jeff hated being famous. You know, but, you know, he loved being on stage. And that's, you know, I love being on stage too. That's why we do what we do. You know, he might have grumbled about it, but if you hit him up for an autograph and a picture, he'll always make time for you guys. I'll leave you with my stories. You know, we're here. Thanks for coming again. I sound like Tom. It's a very sad end to a great story. Remember my brother well.